Robby, what's on your radar?
Well, 20 years ago, as of last Friday, President George W. Bush signed the Aviation and Transportation Security Act into law and created the Transportation Security Administration, better known as the TSA. That was its 20th birthday last week. In response to the 9/11 attacks, the TSA was thought to be a necessary tool for confronting the new reality of terror in the skies. The TSA summarizes its official history, quote, "On the morning of September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 people were killed in a series of coordinated terrorist attacks in New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. The attacks resulted in the creation of the TSA, designed to prevent similar attacks in the future." Well, 2 decades later, the TSA has more than 54,000 employees, a budget of $8 billion, and a long track record of harassing passengers for no good reason. Far from contributing to actual safety, the TSA is a stunning example of government failure. Its absurd travel restrictions make air travel no safer, deprive passengers of their civil liberties, and make the process of flying much, much more costly, time-consuming, inconvenient, and unenjoyable. The agency should never have been created, and its 20th birthday is as good a time as any to abolish it. Where to begin? Let's start with the basics. The TSA routinely fails at its main purpose, which is preventing passengers from carrying deadly weapons onto airplanes. TSA agents constantly miss weapons, drugs, and other illicit items when government agents try to smuggle them in as part of testing. Noted the Heritage Foundation in 2017, TSA screeners failed to detect weapons, drugs, and explosives almost 80% of the time. While the exact failure rate is classified, multiple sources indicate it is greater than 70%. During one test at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, the TSA's failure rate was 95%. The 9/11 terror attacks, in which a small number of men were able to use crude, simple weapons to hijack airplanes and crash them into important buildings, were a scarring moment for the nation. The U.S. government vowed to be more vigilant, understandably. But the truth of the matter is that preventing hijacking is now quite easy. Pilots lock the cockpit doors, which are almost impossible for intruders to breach. Now, people forget this, but prior to 9/11, most airplane hijackings involved detours to different locations. Hijackers did not intend to crash the planes, and thus neither crews nor passengers had much reason to fight back. It was standard procedure to simply let hijackers hijack the airplane. This calculus, of course, is forever changed. Would-be hijackers today would face insurmountable difficulties. Passengers and staffs would attack them. They wouldn't be able to open the cockpit doors. And that will be the case whether or not they've received aggressive pat-downs from the TSA. There's an incredible amount of government waste, fraud, and abuse at the TSA, and we've known about it for a long time. In fact, a report by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform found that the TSA is wasting hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars by inefficiently deploying screening equipment and technology to commercial airports. That report came out in 2012. Meanwhile, the TSA security theater has made air travel a much more grueling process. It's not just the ritualistic humiliation of having to remove belts and shoes, empty out backpacks and suitcases, and submit to full-body scanners. TSA agents are also frequently caught stealing from passengers, groping them, and delaying them for no reason. Hundreds of TSA agents have been fired for theft. Again, there is no point to any of this. It does not make people safer. If anything, it makes us less safe. It's likely that some people choose to drive to their destination rather than deal with the hassle of air travel because TSA makes it so inconvenient you have to get there so far ahead of time. Car travel, though, is far more dangerous than air travel. Many more people die in car crashes than in plane crashes each year. And not even COVID-19 could tip the scales in airplanes' favor, according to a March op-ed in the Washington Post. Enough is enough. There's not a single good reason that Americans should have to endure such misery at the hands of this completely pointless bureaucracy. The best time to abolish the TSA was right after it was created. The second best time is right now. My outrage at the TSA was confirmed. I traveled for a wedding. It was 2 weeks ago. This time it's always something different. Sometimes take off your shoes. No, leave on your shoes, but you got to take everything out of your backpack. This time it was you take off your shoes, belt, but don't take your laptop out. Sometimes they want the laptop out of the backpack and put in a separate bin. They said, no, leave everything in your backpack and put it in one bin with your shoes and your belt and your sweater. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this will not work because they will always then go, oh, okay, now we got to give your backpack extra screening, which is what happened. Then it goes into the other line. Then I'm just standing there waiting like 10 minutes And there's a whole bunch of us, like all our bags are going to be extra searched because they didn't let us take our stuff out of the bag. And there's all these TSA agents standing around. And we started asking people, will you get the, like, oh, no, we're on, somebody will be with you soon. Eventually they handed me my bag, and I think they said like they wanted me to wait in like the area for TSA agent to come. So I just left. So I'm probably a wanted domestic terrorist now. Yeah, I just took my bag and left.
Gotcha.
So I probably shouldn't be admitting this on camera. But anyway, it's ridiculous. It doesn't.
Well, give out
matter.
The address. They can come arrest you right here.
That'd be great. Thank you, Ryan. You sold me out.
Yes. I was going through once, and I had forgotten to leave my bike chain at home, and so they're like, "Yep, this chain too heavy. You can't take this on." And as I'm walking away, the guy's like, "Hey, wait, come back." I turn around, he's like, "What's the combo?" I was like, man.
Oh my God.
I was like, it's 3425. He's like, sweet, thanks, man. And I was actually, glad that somebody would get use out of it if I wasn't going to be able to anymore. But it was still
That's hilarious.
Come on, man.
That's hilarious.
But I gave him the combo. Solidarity.
So,
even with your oppressors.
Even with your oppressors. They are I know maybe, but it seems, some people go, is it that inconvenient? But magnified times a gazillion, like the number of people going through this, it's destructive for efficiency. For it makes everything more. It makes air travel more expensive. It makes people not want to do it, and it doesn't. It's not like this is a necessary sacrifice because it does not help.
Right? Is it making anybody safer?
No.
Right.
It's like impossible to hijack an airplane now. People don't realize this. They used to just let people hijack airplanes. If there was someone hijacking the airplane, you let them do that.
Right,
they took you to Cuba, and then you got on another flight. That's what would happen. And then that was a bad idea that got taken advantage of. We'll never allow that again. That's it. We don't need these ridiculous security measures that fail anyway.
What about bombs?
They're not. Okay, so. Funny observation. You can actually assemble everything you need to make an incendiary device in an airport after you get through security. They sell alcohol. They sell lighters. You could make a small incendiary device. So obviously they're not that concerned about it. They're not concerned about it on trains and buses, and there's no security to get on the Amtrak, etc.
Amtrak's already on the ground.
Right.
So you can't knock it out of the sky.
No, but you could hurt a lot of people. But we don't, and I'm sure someday maybe there'll be some horrible crime incident on one of those things, and then we'll have to do terrible, ridiculous security for that too.
But I think that would be the case, like that somebody could smuggle some type of C4 or something.
I think you could have more minimum security. I mean, maybe. You walk.
Right.
I don't need that. You can't smuggle it in your shoe. There's no way you can convince me you can cram enough C4 into your shoe that it would matter for the flight. But could be wrong. But I don't.
It's always worth like looking at the creep and seeing if it's gone too far. Just bureaucratic creep has its own momentum.
You throw
if you don't check it, it just keeps going.
We throw
and going
away
and going.
bottles of liquid that are more than 4 ounces or whatever. There's no. Those are not dangerous. Would not explode in a way that, like, even the underwear bomber, the guy that, like, all those was never would have worked.
All they did was
1,000 years.
They just smoked a little bit.
Yeah. So it's stupid. But I'm looking forward to your radar coming up next.